Okay, very good. We'll now begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. I would like to request a roll call.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Connor. Aye. Boyes.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. The ayes carry the day. I see we have some folks here. My name is Jeff Fusco, the chair of the committee. And the rules for this afternoon will be that we will receive for the 6 conditional use requests that we have before us. For each one of them, the planning department will provide for us a brief description of the conditional use requests. After that, following that, we are going to ask the clerk to swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee, before the public hearing. After that swearing in, we'll then open it up to anyone for comments. If you could please then go to the microphone and present to us your name and address, we would appreciate that. After that, we'll close the public hearing portion, open it up to questions from the committee, and then open up to questions for all of council in case there is any. And then what we'll do is repeat that process this evening or this afternoon at 5 o'clock. And we'll go through the same thing all over again. The only difference is that the committee will make a recommendation to all of council after that last hearing at 5 o'clock, either in favor, against, or to table an item, take time. So those are the procedures. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Antonucci if he could please give us a description for the first item that's up for a public hearing. Could you please
Would
read
you like
that
me
in?
to read that in?
Sarah
Sure.
Viviano.
The first item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to place a monument sign with an LED message board for Reservoir Park at 1735 Hillside Terrace and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The City of Akron is requesting permission to construct an oversized, internally illuminated sign with an LED display for Reservoir Park Community Center. A non-illuminated ground sign not exceeding 5 feet in height is permitted within 10 feet of the Britton Road right-of-way in a residentially zoned district. The requested internally illuminated sign with LED message center containing roughly 63 square feet of area and 8 feet 7 inches in overall height and 10 feet from the Britton Road right-of-way requires conditional use approval. The sign's illumination will be dimmable and can be turned off at night. The sign would read Reservoir Park Community Center and Pool, 1735 Hillside Terrace in white lettering on a green background and would contain the city logo. The copy area would be surrounded by various shades of green and blue. The Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission approved the new City of Akron Park sign standards on December 6, 2022. It was determined that these larger signs would be appropriate to effectively identify the community center, park, and pool entrances, as well as inform the public of community and park events. The city engineers and consultants state the size and placement of the sign at this location provides optimum visibility for drivers and residents, as well as allowing community messages to be changed immediately and efficiently. And both planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to the condition.
Thank you for your report. Appreciate that. Sarah Viviano, could you please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee?
If you're here to testify for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Antonucci, we're going to hold you to that. Just joking. Okay. However, what we must do is open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify in favor of this proposal. Anyone in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone against? Anyone wishing to testify? Very good. Seeing that, we'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to any committee members who may have questions or comments. Sharon Connor.
Just a quick comment. Very excited about this sign. It's very hard to get our neighbors engaged in the activities at the park, and this sign is going to be a great resource for that, to allow them to plan ahead to be at the events and activities. and so excited about the new community center. Thanks.
Thank you, Sharon Connor. Tina Boyes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. Regarding the section that talked about the new LED signage for community centers, tell me more about that. Is that just for the ones that are in front of us? Is that something that's going to be rolled out more slowly across other community centers? How's that work?
Yeah, I believe the plan is to have these really the same signs with the LED at all the community centers eventually. So it is part of the sign package that was approved by Urban Design and the Arts Commission a while back, so.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Very good. Mr. Antonucci, I do have a question or two. You mentioned, and I apologize, I didn't pick up on it. What's the size again for this? It's a LED sign, right?
Right, the LED display itself would be 1 foot 10 inches by 8 feet 3 inches, roughly 16 square feet.
Okay, very
So
good.
it's like 1.5 by 8.
Yeah, thank you. And they're going to be, what's the technical term? The ground signs, correct?
They're ground signs.
Okay.
Monument signs, we would call those.
Who ultimately, at the end of the day, is going to control messaging on it?
I'm assuming it's going to be the Rec Bureau, the operators of the actual parks and the community centers.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's who's going to control it? The messaging. Okay, very good. Thank you. With that, we'll now move on to the second item that's up for public hearing. Sarah Biviano.
The second item up for public hearing is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to place a monument sign with an LED message board for the Patterson Park Community Center at 800 Patterson Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The City of Akron is requesting permission to construct an oversized internally illuminated sign with an LED display for the Patterson Park Community Center. The sign would be the same size as the previous one we talked about for the, so the sign's illumination will be dimmable and can be turned off at night. The sign would read Patterson Park Community Center, 800 Patterson Avenue, in white lettering on a green background. The sign would contain the city logo. The sign copy would be surrounded by various shades of green and blue. Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission approved the new City of Akron Park sign standards on December of 2022. It was determined that these larger signs would be appropriate to effectively identify the community center and park entrances, as well as inform the public. The city engineers and consultants state the size and placement would provide optimum visibility, as well as allowing community messages to be changed immediately and efficiently. And both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. For that report, Sarah Biviano, could you please swear in any individuals that may be here to testify before the committee?
If you're here to provide testimony for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand?
Okay, very good. Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we will then close the public hearing portion. Is there any comments or questions from any committee members at this point?
I do.
Yes, Mr. Hanna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You did say that the other parks, community centers would be getting these LED lights? Okay,
Yes.
in the near future? Because I didn't see Joy Park or Elliott Community Center included.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure of the timing on all of that. I don't believe it's in the near future, but perhaps engineering Michelle DeFiore is here who can speak to that timing.
Good afternoon, Michelle DeFiore, Integrated Development. We don't have a plan for when those will be rolled out at the other community centers. You know, we completed the design. It'll be subject to approvals in the capital budget. And our sign shop, our Parks Maintenance Department and our Traffic Engineering Sign Shop are working together. They've purchased equipment to make standard signs in-house, but these monument signs are something that we need to outsource. So, you know, we'll learn a little bit more about final costs as we implement these and determine a plan moving forward.
Thank you. Further questions? Thank you. Okay. Anyone else on the committee? Tina Boyes.
Just a quick question, and this may not be established yet, but the design of the signs, someone had approached me early on, before actually the first of the year, and mentioned that they thought there could be some cost savings with park signage without, when the mayors change, we implement all new signage every time. Will having an LED sign preclude us from having to redesign signs like that every 4, 8, 12 years?
It's designed with a changeable panel on the other signs. I believe that there's a plan for a sticker. Again, we can manufacture those things in-house and do those just as we did previous signs with the mayor's name.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mr. Lamardo?
Yeah, thank you. Obviously excited for Patterson Park and watching that new community center go up week after week. So, yeah, if the Rec Bureau will manage that week to week. I mean, I'm assuming, you know, coming up this week, Monday we have this, Tuesday, I'm assuming things like that will be happening, so that's good to inform the community. Obviously, all the parks have a lot of drive-by traffic, so very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none. We'll now move on to, I believe, item number 3, Sarah Viviano.
Item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to place a monument sign with an LED message board for the Ed Davis Community Center at 730 Perkins Park Drive and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The City of Akron is requesting permission to construct an oversized internally illuminated sign with an LED display for the Ed Davis Community Center. Size and setbacks would be the same as the last two that were presented. The one objective of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to promote good design standards and signage. The proposed attractive sign is harmonious with the Land Use and Development Guide Plan and park sign standards approved by the Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission. And as such, planning staff supports the request, recommends approval, subject to the condition.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Viviano, could you please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee?
If you're here to provide testimony for this public hearing, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone against? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to any committee members who may have questions or comments. Any council members with questions or comments? Not seeing any. We'll now move on to item number 4. Ms. Viviano?
The fourth item up for public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to install an oversized high-rise sign at 1526 Vernon Odom Boulevard and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Circle K is requesting permission to construct a high-rise sign for this recently approved gasoline station and convenience store to be constructed at the site. The property is to contain a new 49-foot by 113-foot convenience store with an interior area of 4,200 square feet. Petitioner intends to place a roughly 460 square foot high-rise sign on the eastern portion of the property to identify the location of the store and advertise fuel pricing. The sign would be built to a height of 120 feet from grade on a 3-tiered monopole structure. It would contain a static 16.3 feet by 14 feet for 228.5 square feet. Circle K brand logo on the top. 2 feet below that would be the digital changeable copy or LED display board measuring 8 feet by 29 feet for 232 square feet to advertise gasoline and diesel fuel pricing. All other signage on the premises will meet code requirements. Over the past several years, City Council has approved high-rise signs at expressway interchanges for various businesses. There are 2 high-rise signs currently at the Vernon Odom Boulevard and I-77 interchange for Vanderveer Chevrolet and Summit Toyota. Furthermore, high-rise signs at the nearby Copley Road I-77 intersection for Pizza Hut, BP, and McDonald's have also been approved. The petitioner states that for the development to be successful, the site must attract drivers, especially long-haul truckers. The identification and pricing sign needs to be seen by traffic from a distance of 2,500 feet to allow enough time for vehicles to exit the interstate. It also must be tall enough to be visible over the surrounding trees and highway signs. Petitioner is planning to make a substantial investment at the location, including the new building, landscaping, driveways, and the new signage. The proposed high-rise sign, providing additional means of communicating with the motoring public, would help position the business for long-term success. And both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Mr. Antonucci. Sir Biviano, could you please swear in any individuals that wish to testify before the committee?
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request? If you could please identify your name and address for us. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Brett Lamb, and my address is 35 Hudson Common Drive, Hudson, Ohio. I am here to speak on behalf of Circle K and this project. We're really excited to bring a new best-in-class C-store and gas station to Akron. And this high-rise is really going to help, I think, not only the success of the business, but really bring a kind of a cherry on top to what we think is going to be one heck of an investment for us and for the community here. So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion and open up to any questions from any committee members. Any committee members with any questions or comments? Any council members with questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, very good. Hearing none, we'll now move on to, I believe, item number 5. Ms. Biviano, thank you for your testimony.
Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a convenience store and gas station at 311 Darrow Road and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Circle K is requesting permission to construct a gas station and convenience store on this property and vacate an unnamed alley. The new 5,200 square foot gas station convenience store would be centered in the southern half of the property. The 930 square foot drive-through at the southeastern corner of the building would extend to within 14 and a half feet of the Nicholas Avenue right-of-way. Construction materials would consist of masonry in brown tones with red accents. Ingress and egress to the site would be through 30 feet in width curb cuts near the northeastern corner of their property along Newton Street and near the southwest corner of their property along Darrow Road. The 12 feet wide curb cut at the southeastern corner of their property along Nicholas Avenue would be for egress only for vehicles exiting the drive-through. An ADA accessible walking path would run from Darrow Road to the northwest corner of the building. 12 parking spaces are shown in front of the building with 5 spaces along Newton Street. A canopy 24 feet in width by 128 feet in length, covering 5 pump islands and 10 dispensers, is situated between the building and the parking area along Newton Street. Landscaping would consist of a double staggered row of bushes along the 3 street frontages. The 2 existing large trees on Nicholas Avenue in front of the to-be-raised 4-unit building would remain. A row of arborvitae would run along the eastern property line for screening purposes from the residents to the east. An unnamed alley measuring 15 feet wide by 111.5 feet long on the north side of Nicholas Avenue would be vacated for the development.
Oh, yeah.
The existing Circle K located a block to the south will be raised and remediated for future non-gas station and convenience store developments. Goals of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan, including guiding the location of new retail developments so that will be convenient to residents served and will have minimal impact on adjacent properties, along with promoting good design standards. The proposed new gas station and convenience store will be at a major intersection with a larger footprint than the existing location a block away. This corner has been undeveloped for over 20 years, and replacing the small vacant retail building and billboard on the site with an attractive building with ample landscaping will be a major improvement over the lot's current condition. Except for the slight encroachment of the drive-through, the proposed layout meets development requirements. The unnamed alley to be vacated is not needed for city purposes. the row of arborvitae along the eastern property line would lessen any impact the use might have on abutting neighbors. The $5.5 million investment that will provide 15 to 20 employment opportunities will be harmonious with neighboring uses along this section of Darrow Road. Further, the petitioners worked with the planning staff to incorporate revisions to the site plan to lessen any negative impacts the proposed development may have on abutting neighbors in the neighborhood as a whole. And the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Biviano, could you please swear in anyone who wishes to testify before the committee?
Sure. Is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to speak? If you could please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do." Thank you.
Very good. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify in favor of this proposal.
Hello again. Remember my name, but I'll let you know again. Brett Lamb, 35 Hudson Common Drive, Hudson,
Thank you.
Ohio. Again, another investment that we're excited about to bring to the city of Akron and Circle K is kind of corporate integration as we build brand new stores that are going to be nice 40-year assets and best in class, and love this corner for us. It's the right thing to do, because the asset that we have today just isn't something that's going to be there long term. And this is going to be, I think a great, as we said, just a 5,200 square foot building versus what we have today is a, small store where we can't have our full food offer. We can't have, everything that we want to be able to bring to this community. This is what we're going to be able to do now with this new store. So just excited about this investment as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak before the committee? If you can please provide for us your name and address.
My name is Robert Wellard. I'm with Wellard Corporation representing Circle K. Address is 5136 Beach Road, Medina, Ohio. And I can speak toward this, but I guess I'm here more to answer any questions that Commission or Council may have as we proceed through the special use.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion. Open up to any questions or comments from anyone on the committee. And or council, anyone wishing? Mr. McKittrick?
Thanks, Councilwoman Connor, and thank you, Chair. No, I've talked to some of the residents in my ward. This is in my ward. And I talked to some of the business owners as well. Everybody is happy that this vacant area is going to be utilized like this. There's some other areas that this will actually get some improvements to that area. So I am in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKittrick. Any other questions or comments? We just have one. Is this to be a ground sign I see on the corner? Is that a ground sign?
Yes, I believe the monument. Yeah.
Good. Double checking. Thank you. With that, we'll now move on to item number 6.
Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct the Akron Zoo Animal Hospital on the east side of Diagonal Road, north of Ald Farm Road, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, sir. Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The Akron Zoological Park is proposing to construct an animal hospital on this residentially zoned property. The parcel is vacant except for a Let's Grow Akron garden site on the eastern half of the property. The proposed irregularly shaped single-story animal hospital will measure 101 feet in width and 180 feet in length for a total of roughly 12,000 square feet of area. The building would also be set back over 100 feet from the Diagonal Road right-of-way. Exterior building materials would consist of decorative cement masonry units, wood siding, a glass storefront, metal fascia, and a standing seam metal roof in brown, beige, and gray tones. Office space will be adjacent to the parking area, while the remainder of the building would house various animal hospital services. All outdoor cages will be located near the rear of the building, close to the Akron Zoo developed property currently. 9 paved parking spaces would be sited along the west elevation of the building. Ingress and egress along Diagonal Road would be from a curb cut at the southwest corner of the property. The building would also have internal vehicular access from the zoo's service drive or internal pedestrian access through a secured fence gate. The existing line of trees along the northern property line will remain. Besides providing the required landscaping buffering for the parking area, the property would have a scattered mix of shade and ornamental trees, shrubs, perennials, and ornamental grass. The petitioner states that their animal health facility provides in-house care for thousands of animals on a daily basis, including regular checkups, management of diseases and chronic conditions, surgery, and end-of-life care. The new hospital will include a state-of-the-art surgery suite, intensive care unit, and specialized spaces for the different species, including birds, hoofstoff, primates, and large carnivores. For security, there will be 2 layers of containment for the animals within the building. Also, the zoo's full-height security fencing will run the perimeter of the property. Only staff can enter from Diagonal Road through a secured gate. With the building being set back over 100 feet from Diagonal Road, there will be no impact on residential properties to the west. The existing line of trees along the north property line should shield the use from the nearby apartment building. Since the proposed animal hospital will not be open to the public, parking or traffic congestion will not be an issue. Petitioner is also in discussion with Let's Grow Akron about the feasibility of providing future garden space which benefits the residents of Saferstein Towers. The Akron Zoo employs over 400 people and has been a positive presence in the Sherbondi Hill neighborhood since the 1950s. And both planning staff and planning commission recommend approval, subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. At this time, we'll ask if there's anyone here wishing to testify before the committee. They could please stand and be sworn in by our clerk, Sarah Viviano.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this conditional use. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against?
Yes. Hi, my name is Nate Storm with the Akron Zoo, 500 Edgewood Avenue. The Akron Zoo has grown a lot over the last 30 years. Our current animal hospital was built in 1993, and we have grown about 300% in our animal collection since then. So we're doing a lot of treatments, within their normal buildings, and this will be a great asset to the zoo to take care of our full collection. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor or against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion. Ask if there's any questions from the committee or council. Tina, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious, how will this present to the street? So I'm reading this, and I'm reading about some landscaping and a gate. Is there anything that will indicate this is part of the Akron Zoo, facing the street, or is the goal to keep it hidden as much as possible from the residential aspect?
Yeah, our understanding is it's pretty hidden. It's set back about 100 feet. The building itself is set back about 100 feet from the road. There is a small parking area in the front, which is going to be secured and gated. So it's really not a facility that's going to be like open to the general public. And perhaps Mr. Storm can elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, that's correct. It'll have our normal perimeter fence enclosing the property. There'll be an automatic gate that'll just be used by a few staff members, but it'll tie into the back of house to some of our zoo. It'll mostly be, for our staff use only. We will do some tours for the public, but it will not be an attraction for the zoo.
Got it. Thank you.
Further questions or comments from anyone?
Mr. Chair, Councilwoman Amobian has her
I'm
hand
sorry.
raised.
Yes, Linda Mobian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did speak with Mr. Antonucci about this. I understand there was a neighbor who had some concerns. I know it's close to the new development, but I think he reassured me that most of the traffic would be from the other side. Is that what you said, Mr. Antonucci? That the staff will be entering and that it won't be a whole lot of traffic from Diagonal? Everything the zoo has done, I think we know they've done tastefully and very well. And we know that the zoo has grown and they're doing a wonderful job. So I just want to reassure the community that we're not talking about a lot of traffic from Diagonal.
That's correct. So most of the functioning of the building itself will actually be from, the zoo side, from the actual, area of the where the animals are kept, essentially. So most of the traffic into the building itself is coming from the east side. And there will be some gated access from Diagonal Road, but that's a small number of parking spaces. So, yeah, it will be secured from the Diagonal Road side.
Any further questions? Okay, I'm guessing no. Any further questions from any committee members, council members, anyone else? Okay, very good. Of course, we'll invite you back this evening at 5 o'clock, in which you can testify before the committee again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming this afternoon. With that, we're going to move into the balance of the legislation, the existing legislation, of which I'm going to request that we take time, short of any questions or concerns from anyone. And we'll move into the new list of legislation. Item number 3, Sarah Biviano, could you please read that in?
Item number...
Substitute for 7 on the
Correct. Item number 3 is a substitute offered as an amendment. You'll see it on your regular agenda as number 7. It's number 3 under new legislation. Again, it's a substitute offered as an amendment. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct and operate a refuse and recycling transfer station and trash hauling business at 1400 East Archwood Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? We're going to refer this item for a public hearing to be scheduled. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Program Capital Construction Grant offered by the U.S. Department of Transportation to reutilize the Interbelt to reconnect West Hill to downtown Akron and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I see we have some guests here this afternoon. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of council. Appreciate your time this afternoon. I'm here with my colleague Esther Thomas, Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the city, and together with Susie Graham-Moore, our Director of Economic Development, we are leading the effort to map out the future of the Interbelt Freeway here in Akron. The Federal Department of Transportation launched its Reconnecting Communities Program, RCP, to support planning efforts and projects that address the physical, social, and economic divisions caused by freeway building in American cities. In Akron, that effort is focused on the Interbelt. Building upon the important work conducted over the past few years by Liz Ogbu and Studio O, it resulted in a report that came out last year. Akron received a planning grant through this program, which has allowed us to engage one of the foremost planning and urban design firms in the country, Sasaki and Associates, to lead a community-engaged planning effort to map out the future of the Interbelt. Congress had originally appropriated funding for the RCP program through 2026, with funding to be dispersed this year, next year, and in 2026. And it was our original intention to complete that community-engaged planning process, use the plan that resulted as the basis for an application for implementation funding next fall. However, there's always a however, right? Earlier this summer, as we were finalizing our process for selecting a planning firm, DOT announced that they were accelerating the release of the remaining RCP funds. All remaining funds will be released through the Notice of Funding Opportunity that came out this summer. Applications due on September 30th, 2024. So the Interbelt planning process is just underway, 13-month timeline to produce a plan for equitable redevelopment of that space, to reconsider the transportation infrastructure in such a way that it brings benefit to the neighborhoods along the current right-of-way, and in the process to create value and opportunity in those neighborhoods. Included in the outcomes for that planning contract was the writing of this grant application for those implementation dollars. So we were faced with the dilemma, with a risk that we would lose the opportunity to apply for funds through the federal program created specifically to address the problems created by urban freeways. Working with our consultants at Sasaki, as well as the engineering consultant on the team, WSP, we've determined that we should pursue this grant application now, even though we are just underway with that planning process. We will be submitting an application outlining projects that improve east-west connectivity across the Interbelt Trench, specifically at Vernon Odom, Euclid, Cedar Exchange, and Locust. And we are here today to request council to approve council approval for us to pursue the $10 million in grant funding through the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Program.
Honorable Council, Chair Committee, as we are all aware, the Interbelt was constructed in a failed effort to boost downtown Akron by making it easier for people from outside the city to access downtown. The freeway was built to accommodate about 120,000 vehicles daily, but traffic never got anywhere near that level. And in fact, current levels are about 22,000 vehicles per day. Additionally, this failed effort at freeway building came at the expense of Akron's residents and building owners. Specifically, it came at the cost of two vibrant African-American business districts, South Howard Street and Wooster Avenue. Over 700 homes were destroyed, and a vast amount of wealth was destroyed in terms of property appreciation, intergenerational wealth, and cultural and social spaces. A moat literally separating West Akron from downtown and ensuring that those two areas would follow separate trajectories, both economically and socially. We now have the opportunity to change that based on this planning process. The RCP program provides an opportunity to repair the urban fabric, to reconnect the areas separated by the inner belt, and to create value out of this path of destruction. It also provides an opportunity to create value precisely for those communities that experience direct destruction and displacement.
Thank you.
So as we go through this process, we're working feverishly with our consultants to map out a feasible application for next week. With a scope of work that can and likely will be amended as we move forward with this plan. But this application gets our foot in the door in an important way, both with the Federal Department of Transportation and also other funding sources, so that it helps with our effort to secure other funds from public and private sources for the local match. Funds would not be awarded until next year. We would have 5 years to spend the money down and raise matching funds. And we want to reiterate, very importantly, that we're submitting this grant application next week before we've even begun the hard work of working with the community on the planning for the future of the Interbelt and mapping out that long-term trajectory for that space. But that does not change our commitment to a true community-engaged planning effort. We remain committed to working with the community to identify that future for the Interbelt and identify a shared path forward based on equity, reconnection, and healing and opportunity. And we humbly request your support for this application.
Thank you very much. The funding that we're requesting is going to be primarily utilized for the infrastructure, or is this going to be used planning or infrastructure primarily?
Yeah, so we received the planning grant, which is paying for the planning program. That was a 2023 award. But this particular application that we're going to be submitting next week has to address reconfigurations of transportation infrastructure directly related to the division that the highway created.
Gotcha. Okay, exactly. That's what I want. That's where I was driving. I didn't mean that. That's where I was driving. Questions or comments from any committee members at this time? Time is of the essence in reference to this particular proposal. So with that, please ask questions at this juncture. Any council, any committee members, any council members? I see Linda Mobian's hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we've had multiple meetings, and I know that Liz has done a wonderful job in meeting with families. Is there a committee, a commission, or something that's created that includes the families as we move forward? I just want to hear more about that, because I know we are all committed to making sure their voices are heard and trying to respond in a way that is going to help them heal. And I know we're not talking about reparations yet, but hopefully that'll be down as part of this as we move forward. But can someone respond?
Mm-hmm. Yes, certainly, if it pleases the council. Liz Ogbu did do a wonderful job of assembling an advisory group that was comprised of many different types of stakeholders, including former residents, business owners, businesses that abut the inner belt, as well as community members. And that committee continues. I have to specifically call it an advisory group. We've been meeting quarterly. We've met back in April. We convened with them in July in anticipation of some of the selection of the firm, and we have a meeting scheduled next week. As they are an integral part of a community-informed process, and they are part of this decision-making. Their input is critically important, and that is slated to continue throughout the duration of this project.
Thank you.
The meeting is, and then we have a meeting with them tomorrow. I thought it was next week. It's tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, any further questions or comments? This time, thank you for that information. With that, I'm going to highly suggest that we do not pass this opportunity up and that we move forward. I would like to entertain a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Those against? The ayes have it. Very good. We'll report that out this evening. And with that, the Planning Committee meeting is over. You do not have to call us Honorable Planning Committee, but just planning. It's okay. All good. Thanks. With that, we're adjourned.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, it's 2 o'clock, and our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to call the public service meeting to order, please. All members are present, and we did hold a meeting last week, so I will have to get approval of those minutes, please.
So moved on the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you. We do have just one piece in front of us today, and if it's okay, since I'm not in council chambers, I will ask Sarah to read that in for the record, please.
Sure. This is item number 5 under new legislation. It's an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the replacement of the shuffleboard shade structures at Waters Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah, and I do see we have our Service Director, Chris Luddle, with us today. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, up at Waters Park, we have 10 shuffleboard courts. And this legislation will allow us to replace the shade structures over both ends of these courts. These courts are currently used by our residents and some people outside the city. They play up there 3 days a week. It's more of our elderly residents that play on these courts. I talked to a couple that kind of runs the leagues. They're respectively 87 and 86 years old. They said they do have participants as old as 92 that play on those courts. But right now, currently, they're wood structures and they have a canvas awning over them. The wood is rotten and no longer can support these awnings. So what we do currently, or what we've done for years, is we had a local awning company come in and remove those awnings every year, store them, and then reinstall them in the spring. We would budget around $5,000 a year to do this, $2,500 in the spring, $2,500 in the fall to remove and reinstall. So what this structure will do is allow us to replace all that wood and then do a shingled roof. So they would not have to be canvas, they will not be canvas anymore. Obviously they won't be removed, it'll be a permanent structure. So it'll be a lot stronger when we talk about wind, and wear and tear on the structure. Also, what we're planning on doing is replacing all the electric under those and put all new LED lights for evening play. When we don't have, like this time of year when it gets darker earlier. And we are going to do an upgrade at the park where we're going to replace in our normal operation the LED lights on the pickleball courts, which has been very popular at Waters Park. As some of the other parks we have around town, it's been very popular with our residents. So this legislation will allow us to bid this out and get a contract or contracts with companies to remove and install the shade structures. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments? Councilman Lombardo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions, but just a comment, just to piggyback on what Mr. Luddle was talking about, just in case there's somebody out there that's, who plays shuffleboard? I mean, there's leagues there, and there's something, I don't know the stat or whatever, but like there's not many of these shuffleboard leagues, whether you're talking about Akron or Ohio or United States, but it's used, it's needed, and I appreciate this legislation coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Chris, I do have a question. When we provide the new roof and everything, I haven't been to that park in probably about 5 or 6 years. Are we kind of keeping the structure clear of any like tree branches and everything?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Obviously, good. That park is a lot of woods for shade, but obviously there will be nothing close to these shade structures. Absolutely not, because it's fenced in and it sets back. So no, there's no trees right up against these shade structures. And if I could add one other thing, Councilman Lardo did make a good point, because when I was talking to the two people that run these leagues, I was asking them how many are around here, and probably the closest is Canton. and they travel down to Canton, but people come up here. But then they were talking about Bluffton, Ohio, they were talking about areas close to Lima, Ohio, so there's nothing really inside the city besides this, and the next closest thing is Canton, Ohio.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other committee members? Council members, I see Councilwoman Sharon Connor.
What's the time frame on completion? Will it be completed by next season?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Nope.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I don't see anyone else. Chris, what are you looking at for this piece of legislation?
A consent's fine. We have plenty
Committee?
of time.
Motion for consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you. And nothing else come before us. We are adjourned.
Our next committee today will be the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Davis. Again, that's the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Thank you.
I'm not going to go home, right? No, then at 3 o'clock is budget.
Okay, it's 2:15, and our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Davis. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Viviano. We have previous minutes to be approved. If I could get a motion?
Motion to approve minutes?
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, we have a couple things. We have a resolution to come before us, but before that, today, we're going to have a presentation on the potential moving of the new, of the ladder truck from 9's house to 12's house. So I see the chief's here and the previous chief is here, so you gentlemen have the floor.
Thank you very much, sir. And good afternoon, council. Thank you for having us back. As everyone knows, we were here in February for the proposal of the move for the newly built Station 12. It'll be opening up soon, hopefully within the 3rd week of October. So you're all invited to that as well. With this move, let me explain, first of all, what went into the move actually for Ladder 9 to Ladder 12. And I got a presentation I would like to share with everyone. I will hook it up here, and if there's any questions, please chime in. Everyone see that? Yes. Someone's moving my mouse. Okay, for the presentation for the Ladder 9 move. So if you put your attention on the yellow, and the union has presented this information to you in the past as well. So right now, we literally have, in the city of Akron, we have 4 ladder companies. And where those 4 ladder companies, as we speak at this time, at Station 4, that's on Thornton Street, Station 7 is in North Hill, Station 8 is on the east side on Kelly Avenue, Archwood, and Station 9 is on Dodge Avenue. So right now, the proposal is for us to be moving Ladder 9 to Station 12. A couple of reasons as to the why. The geographical area that we will be picking up and enhancing our coverage with the efficiency and effectiveness of our resources. That's number one. Number two, as chief, having foresight on what this move looks like, looking at the development on Mull Avenue, looking at the development on White Pond Avenue, enhancing our reach when it comes to high-rises that are not currently covered within the 6-minute response time that Ladder 9 is responding to at this time. When you look at the Jewish Community Center, the high-rise, you look at 7 stories west on North Hawkins, you look at all the infrastructure that's with the housing, the duplexes, twinplexes that are in the Zahn area, the Dominion, Treeside, all those apartment complexes are not sprinklered. One of the questions was about the Highland Square area. The Highland Square area has been renovated, and with it being renovated, the updated Ohio Fire Code with sprinkler systems, which is a fire suppression system, has been installed in most of those structures. So that's number one. And one of the things that, you know, my brethren from Local 330, President Guskoski, yes, he's not wrong in the perfect world having a ladder and additional ladders at some of our companies, at our firehouses. That's not wrong. But this is the deal. We have limited resources. Right now, if we were to order a new ladder truck, a new ladder truck takes about 18 months to 24 months for it to even be delivered. That cost is $1.3 million. With that $1.3 million just in coverage for a 75-foot aerial ladder, now I'm going to be asking for additional resources as far as personnel. 4 shifts per day. NFPA standard 1710, 4 personnel on that rig. So that number with the A, B, and C shift is not just 12 personnel. Now, because of comp days, vacations, Kelly days, that number balloons up to 16. And thanks to Mayor Malik, we've increased our personnel staffing to 402. That's the highest number we've had in my career and in Chief Natco's career. that 402 number. And we changed how we respond. Our response model changed. With that methodology, with the response modeling changes, as far as our resources and as far as our deployment model, they had to change. And when I talk about the word change, what does that mean? When AMR left, we were in front of council saying, what are we gonna do as a city? Under Chief Natco's leadership, we decomboed all of our resources. With us decomboing our resources and putting an additional MET unit, MET 22 at Station 2, now we have 14. Deploying MET 62, now we have 15 MET units. We'll be deploying an additional MET unit. We have our REACH unit. We have our SCOUT unit. We have that reach around support. So we're doing more with less, and we're doing our own transports due to the fact AMR is not here. So when you look at the presentation, and this is according to, I used incorporation with some of the data I got from Local 330 with the GIS study they did in 2020, which is a phenomenal study.
Keep going. I'm just going to see if I can make this a little bit larger.
Please do.
Yes.
Sorry, we're sharing through Zoom and through a platform
Yeah,
for the
I couldn't say it that well.
So while he's working on that, you know, this is basically we are reiterating what we talked about in February, where we talked about moving. I'm sorry. We're reiterating what we talked about in February, where we talked about moving a ladder company from Station 9 to Station 12. And there's no change to the meat of the subject. We're just keeping, you know, the council and the safety committee updated as to where it stands. And for those of you that are new to council, you maybe haven't heard the presentation or the reasoning behind it. So the fire department's trying to be very transparent and just putting it out there as far as what's happening and when it's happening.
Mr. Chair, did you want us to hold our questions until they're done?
You have a question, Councilwoman?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the chief and the ex-chief of what was said back in February as well, when you talked about this large piece of equipment and how you've had accidents, I think you alluded to, that you've actually, because of the width of the street, I guess, because I know I used to live in that area, is not as wide and is not as accommodating to this big piece of equipment, that you talked about hitting some vehicles or whatever over time. So I just wanted to remind that you said that before.
So I haven't said that before, but that is a great question, and I'm sure someone has said that before. Let me tell you the history of Station 9, which I worked at back in the 90s. It was a station that had 4 doors. It was 2 in the front and 2 in the back. They were beautiful glass doors. Due to the turning radius of the new vehicles and the size of the vehicles, we were seeing a lot of accidents at that particular time because of that footprint and how that unit has to basically turn to get into the stations. So they ended up closing the back doors. Now it's just a concrete barrier wall. So that would be true. Excellent observation. So getting into the slideshow, when you look at the NFPA standard for 1710, and this is from the GIS study from Local 330, you can see all of the area northwest in that whole region here is, when it comes to 28 firefighters for an 8-minute response time for a minimum hazard incident, we can't cover that with the amount of personnel we need because we don't have the personnel. That's slide number 1, and it's going to come glaring to you when you look at the 6-minute response times. Response. This area here, when I talk about the Mull Avenue Circle area, when I talk about the White Pond Villa apartment complex, when you look at the Jewish Community Center high-rise, when you look at the vulnerable areas like the Zion Dominions, these are areas right now where Ladder 9 is positioned, it cannot get to those specific areas. These are just the facts of the matter in a safe manner. And when I'm not the first chief that looked at this, when we looked at innovation and technology. When Chief Natko looked at this as far as an illustration, and it was illuminated to him using data-driven technology on not what we feel, but data-driven technology, he came to the conclusion, this is a no-brainer. We have to move ladder 9 to ladder 12. That was a must. And when I looked at the data, and let me tell you how I got granular into this presentation. I'm gonna get a little deeper into the granular aspects of it. The local 330, they took 5 years of data, which is a great summation of what we're looking at as far as data. But when I looked at 2023 data, we had 6,353 fire calls. 6,353 fire calls. Out of that data, I went through every aspect of that Excel spreadsheet, looked at call for services where ladder 12, well, ladder 9, responded with engine 12, is very close. When you looked at ladder 9 responding in 3's district, when you looked at ladder 9 responding in 9's district, these call for services, yes, one of the things the union said was it's the busiest ladder company in the city. That is de facto true, based on the location of that station. What I'm saying, and when I looked at GIS and I said, give me a comparative time that where ladder 4 and ladder 7 can emerge on some of those gaps that we need ladder 12, ladder 9 to respond to, show me where we can actually don't have the redundancy, but where we can enhance it and spread and get that coverage we need. So we're looking at those comparative numbers. So to be fair, let's wait for what those numbers look like from the GIS team. But this alone, when I looked at this study and I compared it to some of the data, some archival data, to me, this was a no-brainer for me as chief. When I look at the allocation of resources, basically making things efficient and safe for all of our citizens, this came to me as a no-brainer. And I look at the next slide, which my mouse is not. So thanks, I want to thank Union President Kevin Guskoski for sending me the live map that they have. Based on this live map, if you look at the 3 bay doors, and thanks to Chief Natko when they looked at the finishing build of this particular footprint, right now our current Station 12 only has 1 bay door. Our med unit is in front of our engine. You have to move the med unit to actually respond for a fire call. That's every time. But the forward thinking as a chief, we have 3 bay doors there, an engine, ladder, and a med unit. Now there's no shuffling of vehicles, no moving around vehicles. This is the perfect footprint for that, having that forward thinking process. Now let's look at the dark blue area of the northwest regions. All that coverage now, we respond within that 6-minute threshold. We can reach those Fairlawn Height areas. We've expanded our coverage now to Copley Road. So now you have Copley Road between that by area, Seward, Nome, Hayden, Valdez, Cordova, Frederick. We can get to those areas based on this one particular move faster and safer. Beautiful station. So these are the granular details that I kind of dug into for those call for services. So the number, so the battalions, when you see the BCs, that's a battalion response. The CH is the chief response. When you see the EN, the engine, that's it. And when you see that first engine, that's the polygon in their first in district. And when you're looking at the engine 3, engine 9, ladder 9, that's the building fire. But when you start scrolling down, look at the dates of 125, Battalion 2, Battalion 4, Engine 12, Ladder 4. When you look at Engine 12, Ladder 9, Engine 12, Ladder 9, and this goes so on and so on and so on. So I'm not skewing the data. This is what the data tells me as a chief officer. Where are these call for services coming from? Any questions about any of that so far that I've kind of laid out?
Councilman Lombardi?
Right.
Lombardo? Sorry.
Thank you. Chief, I mean, I appreciate your comments and you being here, but I truthfully can't look at that data and make any decisions. Like, I can't see it, basically. I need it bigger. I need to, see some things because, I mean, it is, it's hard to see. So, when you speak, when former Chief Netco speaks, I mean, you're a trusted source, I believe you, but it just seems right now, like last week, your president of the union spoke, and it was a different comment. So I feel like it needs to be a debate on move it or not move it. I don't know at this time. I don't know. Because I can't see the data, number one. That's part of it.
So that is a great question, Councilman. But like I said, again, when you look at the 2023 data and these call for services that I kind of delineated throughout here, this will show the data itself as far as where the call for services are coming from. And like I said, again, I love the debate and the actual process of the aspect of having those debates. I think that we should have more debates as far as what policy looks like. But I don't look at things as far as a micro lens. I look at things as a macro lens based on the resources I have at hand. And with that being the case, and understanding what the data tells me as far as what wasn't being covered, I have to do my job as a chief and not what's popular, not what's, that's the easiest thing. The easiest thing is just let things just lay where they're at. But I can't sleep with myself knowing the fact that I can allocate those resources in a better manner.
Excuse me, I just wanted to point something out. So, the presentation to the Safety Committee is not asking you to choose. It's not, we're not asking, the chief is not asking permission. The fire chief's made the decision to move the ladder from Station 9 to Station 12. What the intent here is to let council and the Safety Committee know the reasoning behind it, and for you to be able to answer questions from your constituents if they come to you with questions on, hey, what's going on here? Why has it been moved? So please don't misunderstand, what's going on. This rests solely with the fire department. That's their decision to move some of their resources around. And it's not eliminating a resource. It's not closing Station 9 down. Station 9 will still exist with an engine and a med unit and a captain there. It's just moving one part of Station 9 over to Station 12 for better use of the resources. And I think if you were to just kind of take an opportunity to look at the location of Station 12 and to just visit that station maybe at some point in time when it opens would be a great time. You would see what a resource that is for the city of Akron, building a new station. That doesn't come around a whole lot. And when it does, for the fire chief to take advantage of that new building to its fullest extent, which is what Chief Henderson is doing. He's filling every one of those bays, and it's just a nice station. It'll be better for the firefighters, and in that same thought, if you were to visit Station 9 and seeing, what it looks like there, you could see the improvement from this footprint to this footprint, and I think that's an open invitation.
And so I will chime in and make this one valid point. When you look at the actual functions of a ladder truck, it's for search and rescue, for ventilation, putting up lights, putting up an aerial to complement the engine company. That's the job of the ladder. So let's look at things historically. Has it been done before in the city of Akron? Yes, it has. During my career, Station 10, Ladder 10, that was decommissioned. There's no ladder in that area. When it comes to moving Station Ladder 1 to Ladder 4, that happened. So this is not the first time that this has ever happened. This happens whenever we have a new station or there's resource allocations or what the data tells us as fire chiefs. What are the trends? I'm sorry, you had a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm all for the move. I think it makes sense, and especially with population growth up in the Ward 4 area, that Mall Avenue. I don't know how many houses they're building there, but I assume quite a few. And it does make sense, but if you're able to email that.
Yes, I can.
I would like to take a look at it, but I personally think it's a good move, you know. And did I hear you say that the apartments on Zion or Treeside, they don't have?
No, they were not mandated with sprinkler systems. And you got to understand when they were built, what the fire code was. And when you look at the apartments on Mall Avenue, there's a copious amount of apartment complexes and duplexes. And when you also look at the access to Ladder 12, to the highway, one of the most critical functions we do as a fire department is rescue when it comes to the jaws of life. When it actually comes to basically getting people out of car wrecks. That's just straight access to the highway.
Now, are those units AMHA housing, do you know, or?
I have no idea.
Privately owned? Okay.
No idea.
Okay, because that doesn't make sense.
But
in this
I
day and
drove
age.
through there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Councilman Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Why are there so many firefighters in 9 that is in opposition of the move? And what's the downside of you taking that fire truck from Dodge? I think that's the street that 9 is on now. What's the downside of taking that truck from there and moving it to 12 on Hawkins? That's a state-of-the-art facility. I ride past there quite often and I see that. But I was concerned that there were so many firefighters here last week that was in opposition of that move. And I just, and you just mentioned that this is a done deal. So we're just talking, really. We're just here. So this is a done deal. So what's the downside of that? And you do have that high rise on the corner of Dodge and East and West Market, right?
Yes, sir.
So will it be covered or?
Yes. So when you're looking at reallocating our resources, everything in the city of Akron, let's just make that point, is going to be covered. Every area that we cover now will be covered when we make the move to ladder 12. What we're saying is looking at the data, being data-driven, is the best location for ladder 9 is station 12. And when you made the question, what is the downfall? That is a very good question, Councilman Hanna. This is the deal. When you look at the tipping point, there's always when you fishbone something out, there's the problem. But then when you scale that, okay, what are those pros and cons? Are we losing the close proximity of a resource to the downtown location? Yes, that's a fact. Are we losing that resource that's in the Highland Square area that can get there within minutes, and not alone seconds? Yes. But what I'm also looking at is, like I say, that micro lens, those facilities that have been updated, they have a suppression system. Relocating that ladder has enhanced our capabilities without the aspect of having an additional ladder company.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilwoman Amobian, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Um, I think former Chief Nacko said it perfectly, that, you're here to give us information about what we heard. But essentially, the operating and managing and running of the stations, the fire department, is left up to the chief. And the chief reports to the former chief. And in this presentation, as I heard last week, I said this presentation was already done. And former Chief Nacko just reminded us that it was done in February. That because all the things that we are hearing, most of what we're hearing is some of the stuff we heard back then. And again, it is truly, I can look at this data that you're providing all day long, and it's helpful to know that you are making these data-driven decisions, but it doesn't serve me as well as it serves you in terms of knowing what you're doing and why you are reallocating your resources and how you're trying to cover the citizens of Akron through looking at things differently. And I think we're just talking about change. Anytime there's a change, folks, people are going to be concerned and have their fears and so forth. But we have to trust that we have the right people in places to make the right decisions for the operation of this huge department that is so important to the citizenry. So I thank you for the presentation, and I certainly agree with what former Chief Nacko said. This is information only for us because we are not in a position to make any kind of recommendation or decision. I know I'm not. So I appreciate the information, and I certainly agree with whatever you're trying to do to reallocate and spread the resources around so that we can get to as many citizens as possible when the need arises. Those facilities on right down the street from Dodge, which is on by, you're talking about the Fowler buildings. Most of those, I know one or two of those are operated by Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority. One is a HUD building, but is not operated by Metropolitan Housing Authority. And the one on White Pond, I think, is a HUD building and is not operated by Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority. So we have lots of high rises around that may be subsidized housing, but not directly under the auspices of the Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority. So anyway, thank you so very much, Chief Henderson and former Chief Nacko, for the information.
I just got one comment to make. I don't answer to him. I like him, but I don't answer to him.
Sorry about that. I know that he was put in a position that was not a filled position before, so I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Just a reminder, with all due respect, I understand this is something that the chief makes the decision. Maybe some folks didn't watch the meeting last week, but I specifically said that council does not vote upon this. I said that specifically last week. So I don't know if some people didn't hear it or not, but I don't think not a misconception on my part, maybe on some other folks. My concern is just what the chief said. Yes, moving this will move a resource from certain areas downtown. And I think when we look at the volume of calls in all of what was up there and how many may go to those high rises and the places downtown, my concern is, are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? We're moving, this is gaining, but we're losing here. Another thing that was mentioned was the aspect of personnel. I do know that council voted on hiring another class, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that list does expire October 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just curious, are we going to be able to get more personnel, or is that not going to be able to transpire?
So, excellent question, Councilman. And Mayor Malik did approve, like I said again, the most personnel that we've had in my career. And your question was, October 3rd is the date that was to be expiration of a new class or of our candidate pool. I reached out to HR. We had a meeting with HR and the law department last week. That list now has been extended to December the 6th. And yes, December 6th, which is on a Friday. So that's not public knowledge, but it has been extended.
Okay. I feel much better in regard to knowing that we passed that legislation. Concern when we're talking about personnel and how valuable those personnel are to be able to staff all the positions in the new units that are out there that you've made mention of, especially with another med unit coming in. You know, having the paramedics that we've recently had pass, going into SUMA and so on, and the new EMTs. So that's great news. Thanks so much. Do we have any other comments or questions? Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much for everything that you do. All firefighters, public safety folks, appreciate that. And I appreciate the position you're in terms of being a manager and making tough decisions. And you're in the right. This is not a councilmatic decision that must be made. And you're also, you're right to thank the administration in terms of the new hires and such. And just remember, we're the ones that vote on the budget too. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there was a time whenever I was on that side of the table and I was talking to council about, you know, changing and then shifting resources and people. And the one thing we did during that time, and I don't think you were here, maybe you were, we called it re-engineering the Public Service Department. And what we had done was that the primary function of that was yes, saving money, being more efficient. We brought in external experts. But the thing that they told us was that listen to your employees, the people on the front line, listen to them. And they're the ones who are actually out there doing the work. They're the ones out there who are, you know, on a day-to-day basis and value what they have to say. And I think that's what we had heard last week from those on the front line. Understand where you're at in the position that you're in and empathize with that. But also wanted to mention too, it also seems as though we say from pulling from downtown and the growth pattern and understand all those developments you're talking about, I think they are newer developments with better technology and so on and so forth versus the inner city. Because in essence, it seems as though that's what we're doing. We're pulling resources out from the inner city. That's what's happening here. In my opinion, like I said, I could be wrong. My only recommendation would just be to maybe try and see how it goes. But I do respect, again, like I said, analyzing the data, making those tough decisions, understand that, and empathize with you that it's not easy sitting where you're sitting. I understand totally. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. Are there any other comments or questions from any council members? Oh. Mr. DeShazer, go ahead, sir.
I appreciate the discussion. That's okay, you can say. I appreciate the discussion, and I heard it on both sides. And I know that it sits, you know, in my ward now. And what people have really been asking, though, is what to expect to replace it if it's moved out to the new station, and what services or what kind of equipment will be replacing it there.
Excellent question, Councilman. And Councilman Fusco, I do appreciate your aspect of your question and your concern as well. And you're right, listening to our employees are key and essential to the overall functionality of what we're trying to accomplish. So I truly appreciate that aspect of it. But on the tilt side of that, and like I said again, when we know better, we do better. And as leaders, we have to do the hard things as far as the leadership component of it, even though it may not be the popular thing. And I get it, and what you just pointed to as far as the aspect of what is replacing it. You're still gonna have a fire truck there at that facility. You're still gonna have a med unit at Station 9 on Dodge Avenue. You're still gonna have a battalion that runs out of Station 9 as well. You're still gonna have those resources, but you're also going to have that ladder 12 as a complement as far as that ladder service, depending on what that radius is. You may see ladder 4 responding over more into the Perkins Park area. You may see that ladder 7 responding to that Merriman Road and Hickory area. You're not losing anything as far as the aspect of that Station 9 area. When you look at this particular area, like I point to again in the red, with a comparative study looking at how we analyze that particular area, those are questions that I do want to know, and I tasked the GIS force to give me those questions. Because when President Guskowski gave me this last week, I said, I love seeing the bigger picture and what we lost and what we gained, and what is that balance?
Okay, well, if we have no further questions, gentlemen, I greatly appreciate your time and all the information and everything you put forth to us. So thanks so much for coming today, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have a resolution coming before us. Could you read that in, Clerk Viviano?
This is item number 6 in new legislation. It's a resolution acknowledging the 30th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act and expressing support therefore and declaring an emergency.
Thanks. Councilwoman Amobian, I'll yield to you since you brought this in.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. When I heard about the 30th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act, I decided to kind of look into it and do some research on it. Because you would think after 30 years, we probably wouldn't need this again. But it's been an act that was created and has been reauthorized multiple times by both sides of the aisle, the Democrats and the Republicans. And essentially what we're talking about is an act that provides a number of resources to communities across the nation in order to address this serious problem. And I think we have seen on television here recently, it covers not only domestic violence, it covers colleges, it covers transgendered relationships, LGBTQ relationships. It covers all of that. In addition to providing the laws and the rules and the guidelines to follow, they are providing resources. And one of the things I am planning to do is meet with the person in charge of our battered women's shelter and have her come and do a presentation for us to bring us the data for the Akron and Summit County area. Because, you know, you think that after all these years we've had this in place, that the problem would be going down. I don't know. It doesn't appear to be going down, but I think they can better tell us what we are experiencing in this area. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge this and to show our support, that we strongly support this, because it also comes with protection orders. When women leave one state and go to another, that protection goes with them to that other state. And it goes with the orders where you have restraining orders against someone. There are just so many provisions there that's included in this act that I thought was so critically important for us to acknowledge and show our support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Thanks for that information. Do we have any questions or comments from any committee members or any other council members? Councilwoman, should we go with suspension of the rules?
I would appreciate that.
All right. Can I get a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report?
Motion to suspend with a favorable report.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. We have nothing further to come before public safety. We will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our final committee today is the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Bolden. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock.
Whatever. Okay.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock, and our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Bolden. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Bolden. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk. First of all, I'd like to get approval of the minutes from last time we met.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Minutes pass. We have 2 items coming before us, and the first one is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Law or her designee to enter into a contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Rutzel and Andrus for the provision of professional legal services for the City of Akron and declaring an emergency. And I see Mr. Angeloni in the
Thank
House.
you, Chairman.
Thank you.
So yes, before you is a piece of legislation authorizing an additional $50,000 retainer to Rutzel and Andrus. This relates to pending federal litigation. This is an ongoing case, so this is an additional amount that we need to reserve to pay additional legal fees. That case is currently in the discovery phase. So that's where we're at.
Okay. Very good. And from what I understand, obviously we have a law department, but we contract out due to cases like this and maybe some other areas that we may not have that expertise. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like anything else anymore, the way that the practice of law has gone is it's become very specialized.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certainly things that we are very good at doing internally in-house, and there are certain things that we need outside expertise to do, and that's the best way that we can represent the city and protect the general fund.
Awesome. Councilman Fusco?
Consent agenda okay, or suspend the rules?
Yes, consent agenda would be fine.
There's no questions. I'd like to recommend CA.
That's fine. If there is no further questions, I have a motion on the floor for consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, we'll see that that's placed on the consent agenda. Thank you. All right, Brian. Our second piece is an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $17 million for the purpose of paying a portion of the city's $58,471,743 of various purpose general obligation bond anticipation note, Series 2023 at maturity, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is similar to what we did last year. We have been doing our various purpose issuance each year in the form of a note. And starting last year, we started taking out the oldest issuance year to long-term financing. So last year, we took out the 2020 notes. This year, we're taking out the 2021 notes to long-term financing. So the issuance amount would be about $17 million And then we would still have the 2022 and 2023 issuances in the form of notes.
Okay, very good. Very good. We have any questions from our Budget Committee on this? Nope. Any questions from other council members?
It is. We would like to, because of the pricing date on these. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, very good. We have a motion on the floor for suspension of the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Suspension of the rules.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And there's no other items coming before us. Budget and Finance Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in special session at 5 o'clock. Thank you.